something bad happens, if a loss occurs, that's a great time for us to get better. Never waste a loss. And for a lot of leaders, right now feels like a loss.
Hi, and welcome back to Reflect Forward. I'm your host, Kerry Siggins. I'm so glad you are here today. Today, my guest is Don Yaeger. He is a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, business leadership coach, 12 times New York Times bestselling author. He has a great podcast called The Corporate Competitor, and he is an unbelievable storyteller. He was a longtime associate editor for Sports Illustrated, and he has fashioned a career as one of America's most provocative thought leaders around storytelling and team building and culture creating. And he's just amazing. I met him at the Real Leaders Unite Summit back in February. And I just knew that he had to come on the show and share his experience. So you're going to love this interview. He's such a great guy. So hang tight, and I'll be right back with Don. All right, everyone. I am back with Don Yaeger. Don, it's so great to have you on the show and to see you again. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, so grateful. It's going to be my honor.
We met at the Real Leaders Unite Summit. One of the things that really impressed me about the way you engaged with the audience is you did a bunch of research on us. And I happened to be one of the people that you did research on. It was fun to have you come up to me and say, "Hey, you played softball, right?" I was like, "How did you know that?" Can you maybe tell us first a little bit about what you do and then why you think it is so important to know your audience when you get up on stage?
If we're trying to be best in class, if we're trying to be someone that people will remember, nothing makes someone more interested in you than when you've shown interest in them. I'm speaking tomorrow in New Orleans. I've got about a dozen members of the audience that I've already done some research on so that if the opportunity arises, I can reach out, touch some people, call some people by name. It allows them to feel like, wow, that guy took time. He wasn't just a hired gun that came in, spoke, and flew out. He took time to prepare. And I think people appreciate people who are prepared. I think people listen to people who are prepared. They give you more grace as well. And I think that's one of the things that I'm always looking at, thinking of as a speaker is how do I make sure I leave the best impression? And it's not always just in content. Sometimes it's the way you make them feel.
My speaking coach told me it's never about perfection. It's always about impact. It's always about how you make them feel when you leave stage. And I always appreciated that because I sometimes get mad at myself. I was like, oh, I forgot that part of my speech. And nobody knows. Like, I'm the only person who knows.
Right.
And what really matters is did you leave them with actionable takeaways or a different way to look at the world or to challenge their own thinking about something? And it's not about perfection, it's about impact.
That's a perfect phrase. And if I'm trying to teach people how to tell better stories, which is a really important part of what I do, the first thing, as you noted from the time we were together at Unite, is that you have to know who you're speaking to. You may take the same story and it may show up 5 different ways based upon what you know about the people that are listening to you. I think about that all the time. And I know how I'm affected when other people have taken time to prepare themselves for time with me.
And you are a masterful storyteller. You obviously teach on storytelling as well. Have you always been a storyteller? How did this manifest itself into your career?
My dad was a Methodist preacher, and he used to argue that storytelling was the most important skill any one of us can develop because it opens the door for you to walk into just about any room. If you're a good enough storyteller, you'll find a space. I used to not believe that completely until one day I just, instead of watching him tell a story, which was happening in a room full of people, I watched the rest of the room watch him tell a story and you really see the impact. I'd always just been spoiled by listening to a really great storyteller, my father. And the truth was, what was being presented to me was an opportunity to understand how other people are affected by good storytelling. I'm a big believer in storytelling with a purpose. Our goal is not just to spew words or to make people laugh, it's to actually try to bring people together around a concept. And storytelling allows that to happen. I'm fired up by the idea that today I get to teach it often. Simon Sinek, who probably many of your listeners know, had me as the lead instructor on his storytelling courses that he teaches through his Optimism Network. I laugh all the time. I get to teach people something that I think I have worked to master for myself. And in that process, end up believing that I'm making my own difference.
I think that a lot of people maybe don't think that they're storytellers because, oh, I'm not on stage. I'm not a keynote speaker, but every leader is a storyteller because you have to get up in front of your teams or your employees and you have to share a compelling vision and motivate people through that deeper connection and why the work is so important. So, what advice do you give for leaders who say, oh, I'm not a storyteller?
I don't think anybody's a storyteller. I think it's a learned skill, and I think anybody who tries to dismiss it as, "Well, I wasn't born with that gene," or whatever, is missing an opportunity. Frankly, like leadership, I don't think leadership is something we are born with. I think it is something you learn, and if we want to be better at just about anything, go seek out people that can teach you. Go seek out people that can guide you. I do it all the time when I'm trying to get better at something, and so I would argue that if you're not comfortable believing that about yourself today, go find somebody. My guess is just like your speaking coach, right?
Yeah.
That that you will be in constant improvement, and that's the best we can ask for ourselves.
Mastery takes practice, and you have to get out there and you have to practice. And I think that what a coach can do, or taking one of your storytelling classes or courses, it can help people understand the components of a story so that they can see in themselves, I do have a story to share. So, what is your advice around finding that story? I know you're all about having a library of stories. How does one get started with building out that library?
You know what, Carrie? I'll make this actually easier for your listeners. One of the things that I did several years ago, or a couple of years ago, just people kept telling me that I don't have a story to tell. So I crafted 45 questions, pretty simple, but they're questions that are intended to inspire you to think of stories. Tell me about someone who mentored you. Tell me about where were you in your life when that happened and how that mentorship make you better. There's a great story about mentorship, right? When you get a chance. There's a great story about pouring into the lives of other people. These are just story prompts. They're questions that are intended to prompt. And I'll send you the link if you want to put it in your show notes. They can have that as an opportunity for them to better themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I'll take it and I'll include it. I loved the prompts. It made me think of some different stories that I have yet to share on stage too. So it's brilliant.
Often the reason we say we don't have stories is because no one has prompted us to believe that what we do possess is, in fact, as you said, a life full of story.
You're also really good at helping other people tell their stories. You've interviewed some of the most amazing leaders in the world. Do you prefer to be on stage telling a story, sharing your stories, or do you prefer to interview people and be pulling those stories out of them?
So for years, it was always the latter. I was always in favor of just being the guy that asked the questions. And that allowed me to fashion a career as a sports writer. I finished my writing career at Sports Illustrated magazine. There's only 30 writers in the entire world for that magazine at that time. And it was as primo a job as you could have in my profession. The world was changing, magazines were changing, and it was time for me to try to figure out how I wanted to change. And I decided to try the speaker concept. Could I create a new way of telling stories? Sometimes the same content that I had written, now I have the opportunity to recraft it as a story told in front of people. Instead of writing it, now I'm speaking it. And I hired coaches like you, and I spent time really trying to hone the craft. And fortunately, Real Leaders since picked me as one of their top 50 speakers in the world. It's exciting. It's fun to do. And just got inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame recently. And so all kinds of nutty things have happened because I decided to try something new.
Congratulations on that. That's exciting and very well deserved.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. So, was it a big shift for you? You have this identity as a writer and an interviewer and not helping other people bring those stories out. And now you have to get on stage. What was it like going through that transformation of being the person pulling the stories versus being the one out there telling them?
It was a big shift, frankly, because you are comfortable in the skin that
Yeah.
is you as the teller of stories, of helping other people tell their stories. And I'm still helping other people tell their stories. I'm just doing it from a stage in a way that you're hearing it because I had the chance to experience it. It's very different. And learning how to balance both, there's a reason, frankly, why most writers are not speakers. Those are not necessarily parallel paths. But I wanted to try to see if I could make
Yeah.
it work. And it's cool because as a writer, One of the things that you don't really get a chance to experience, you know this, you've written a book and you get it. How often are you actually randomly sitting on an airplane next to somebody reading your book? It doesn't happen very often, and in
No.
that situation, you don't really get a chance to experience what other people are experiencing because of your good work. You don't. But as a speaker, you get immediate feedback. I
Yeah.
tell a story, I can look you in the eye. Is it impacting you as I hope it will? Is it impacting you like it impacted me? And if I can tell the story, it will have that impact on you.
I followed the very similar path because I'm a writer. I wrote since I was a little girl. My mom got a word processor. And before I could even type, I was in there just banging out letters, typing. And I absolutely love to write. I won all kinds of awards for my high school newspaper. And then I went to engineering school, and you don't write much in engineering school. But back in 2015, I was out for a run and I was thinking about how do I bring more creativity back into my life? I love running a company and building this great organization. I love what I do, but I'm missing that creative flow. And it popped into my head, right. And so I went home that afternoon and I created my own website on Weebly, the drop and drag. It was so bad, but it allowed me to create a blog to start to write. Of course, I speak so much because I'm a leader and I'm a visionary leader, and I have to get people inspired and on board and understanding the vision. So I have lots of practice speaking in front of my employees. So it's been interesting to see how my writing has transitioned into a speaking career as well. I didn't start off interviewing people, but it started off with writing a blog.
I get asked all the time by parents who have children, mostly teenagers, who aspire to do some of what we're doing. And I tell them all the time, look, the beauty of the world that exists today is you can go out and essentially establish your own magazine. I had to wait for Sports Illustrated to hire me. You don't have to. You could become a writer, but write all the time. It's just, I think it's like anything else. You're better at it the more you get a chance to practice.
And it's the same thing with speaking. You literally go on and do a Facebook Live, an Instagram Live, a LinkedIn Live, and become a speaker.
Right.
And yeah, maybe you only have a couple people who tune in, but that's how you get started. And you're right, it's so different.
I'm in my 13th year of actually out speaking professionally, if you will.
Yeah.
And I laugh, like, first couple of years, I didn't make enough money to cover my gas, but it was something that I decided I was gonna be good at. So I sucked it up, did it, and ultimately found a rhythm that worked and allowed me to continue to grow and build it professionally to the place where it is today. And there are tons of places looking for speakers. You don't have to
Yes.
just do it virtually. You could Kiwanis and Rotaries and all those different organizations, YPOs, are all looking for speakers.
Yep, and that's how you practice. So one of the other things that you talk about besides storytelling is about how to build great teams.
Mhm.
And I think that all came from all of your interviewing of great leaders. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you developed this framework around building great teams from all the amazing people that you spent time with over your years of writing.
I was challenged by a company that had hired me to speak a few times to help them think about how to build sustainably excellent organizations. Within their framework, how do we build strong teams? I decided to go out and take a shot at calling organizations that I thought were excellent and saying, would you let me study you? What I discovered is that the very best, they want to be studied, but they only want to be studied if you promise them that you'll come back and give them what you learned versus the experiences of others. And so I made that a commitment. Everybody I went and got a chance to work with. The next thing, it's Nick Saban in Alabama in football, right? It's the women's volleyball team, a Misty May Trainer and Kerry Walsh Jennings, the
Yeah.
best of all time in their sport. The All Blacks, the rugby team in New Zealand, invited me to come learn from them. And every one of them were opening the door for me to understand how high performance cultures are created for teams. I spent basically 5 years on the road, and then businesses started opening the door. Delta Airlines, Chick-fil-A, California Pizza Kitchens, places that were really punching above their weight consistently. How do they build that excellence into everything they do? And out of that, all those interviews kind of came up with a list of habits that the best do better than others. And the number one habit is that the best teams have a sense of purpose that flows not just among leadership. That's easy, right? We can feel our purpose. It flows all the way down to the front desk. And how do you build that? How do you make that happen? And I discovered that the best teams do it very intentionally. They are creating what Mike Krzyzewski at Duke used to call feel it moments. It's where you feel who you serve, not who you sell to, but who do you serve? And
Yeah.
if you can, as an organization, feel who it is that you serve, what you find is that the team shows up differently. They believe that they're part of something. We use that phrase all the time. It's almost cheapened by the way it's used. I want to be part of something bigger than myself, right? But it's our job as leaders to show them that they are, in fact, part of something bigger than themselves,
Yeah.
that what we are doing today has impact on others, and the impact it has on others will have impact on others, but only if we do what we do today really well. That ability to bring to life, not just a letter from somebody, but bring it to life in front of your team allows them to feel a sense that they are, in fact, no longer just playing basketball, no longer just working in a PR business, no longer developing widgets of some kind. They're actually making a difference in the lives of others. And when we believe that, we show up differently.
It's so validating. Our mission at Stone Age is to inspire our customers to say, why would I choose anybody but Stone Age? We share all those stories every time we help a customer out, or a customer calls and says, I couldn't have done this without you, or I love your products, or every time I call, he's just consistently there for me. And we tie everybody's job line of sight to delivering on that mission. We're
Right.
here to inspire our customers to say, why would I choose anyone but Stone Age? And that was just like a happenstance. I just wanted some very clear mission that was inspiring, that was easy to remember, not a bunch of words that didn't matter. And it has really stuck and really resonated. And when our customers come to visit us at our branch offices or our headquarters in Durango, and they walk around and they meet our employee owners who share about their jobs and how it helps make the customer's life better, even if it's not in direct relationship to a job like IT or HR, our customers are so impressed. And the best compliment I can get, and I hear it all the time, is, can I get a job here? I love you guys. And that's how you know that it's working, when people can say, this is how I'm helping you and inspiring you, and show so much pride in the work that they do. That's where the special sauce is.
If the storytelling thing doesn't work out for me, I'll ask you for a job.
It really is a great place to work. So, what are some of the other habits of a team that are important for my audience to know about?
I think another one is that the best teams have a mentoring culture, not a mentoring program,
Yeah.
but a culture where it is, in fact, valued that you, as the possessor of knowledge, no matter where you are in the food chain, if you happen to know something, your willingness to share it and other people's willingness to accept it is an important piece of the desire for excellence. Unfortunately, there are too many places that have a mentoring program. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a box that you check. Yes, this month I met with my mentor. Yes, this month I met with my mentee. We're talking about the ability organizationally to believe it's our responsibility to each other to make each other better. I think that when I see great teams that do that, it's often not even called mentoring. It's because it's culturally present, and that's what you want. I think the best teams are also they're building themselves toward transition. You have to be ready to embrace change, not accept change, but embrace it. I was speaking just yesterday in New York City for Target. The CEO of Target, Brian Cornell, was on my podcast. Afterward, we developed a relationship. He invited me to come speak to his leadership team. And a big piece of the conversation was in the world that we're facing today, tariffs and all the other things that create instability in the lives of CEOs, in the lives of leaders, especially in retail. How do you embrace what's happening as opposed to fearing what's happening? How do you embrace it and say, what can I do now that I couldn't do in a traditional environment? And there are several things going on at that organization because now is the time, right? It's not the most convenient time. It's actually a really crappy time. Nick Saban used to say, never waste a loss. Something bad happens, if a loss occurs, now's a great time for us to get better. Never waste a loss. And for a lot of leaders, right now feels like a loss.
It is pretty wild what's happening. I feel that COVID, at least for this is my experience, I don't know if it's other leaders, really prepared me for anything. So while we are a business who could be impacted by tariffs, all of our products are manufactured in the United States, but we sell 45% of our products overseas. So reciprocal tariffs absolutely can hurt us. I'm prepared for this now because COVID was so hard. And it's amazing what happens as you build that resilience muscle. You go through hard things, you get better at doing hard things.
Mhm.
And that's what I try to tell my employees.
I mean, what employees need to hear is we've been here. You're in the presence of people who have managed it once, and be ready because we're going to do it again.
And here's how we're going to do it. And I think that when you are transparent as a leader, that really helps people. That's what I've done with this tariff situation. During a company meeting, I was like, look, we got through COVID. That was way worse than this is going to be on our business. We're going to run the same playbook. And yes, there's going to be some things that change, but we know when we stay true to our core, who we are, with innovation and with customer success and caring for each other, we can get through anything. And I had several people afterwards email me and say, oh, that was exactly what I needed to hear,
Yeah.
because you can get like, oh my God, how are we going to get through this? This is going to hurt us, rather than going, man, we made it through COVID. We made it through 08, 09. We've made it through so many things. We're going to be okay. It doesn't mean it's not painful, but we're going to be okay.
One of the things I talk a lot about is the importance good leaders understand this is a season. That's what it is.
Yes.
It's a season. And guess
Yeah.
what happens? Seasons change.
Yeah.
There were seasons before, as you said, COVID, '08, but those were seasons. Seasons when things have been extraordinary, but those are seasons too. You shouldn't expect that any of that. The seasons don't last, but the people who understand them do.
And that's such a great lesson for life in general. You get so hung up on what's happening right now, and tomorrow is going to be different. And I always ask myself that question when I feel stressed about something, which at this point in my life and career, I don't get stressed about too much. But I ask myself, is this going to even matter in a month? In a year, am I going to even remember this? I look back on every challenge I've been through, overcoming substance abuse issues and overdose, going through a divorce right now, getting through all these business challenges, completely uprooting my life. I look back at them with all positive feelings. That was really amazing. I learned so much, and look at where it got me. Even though it was really hard in that moment, there's nothing but gratitude and appreciation and even some joy around what those hard times brought.
And again, so much of it is communication, right? How are you talking to yourself? How are you talking to
Yeah.
others?
Yeah.
And we know there are an awful lot of people out there that revel in trying to rehash the difficulty of today. Boy, today
Yeah.
was hard. What's that dinner table conversation like? That's the language you're using to discuss it to yourself as well.
Yeah.
So, choose better.
Yeah, that self-awareness is really key. That's part of self-leadership. And I tell people all the time about self-leadership, whether it's in my company or giving a keynote on stage, is like you're leading yourself every day, whether you're doing it consciously or unconsciously, whether you're doing it well or whether you're doing it poorly.
Whether you're doing it good or bad, right?
Exactly. Think about how you're showing up. What am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? How do I want to lead through this intentionally? How do I want to be there for myself, for my employees? And what can I pull on from the past that's going to help me? And all of that is just such good self leadership. And some of us do it well consciously, and some of us don't. But I think if people really leaned into that idea of self leadership, then they become better people leaders.
No question.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
follow people that understand this. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have a new book coming out. By the time
Right.
this podcast launches, it's going to have been out. So can you share the title and a little bit about it?
The book is called The New Science of Momentum. The first box of books arrived just a couple of days ago. Nothing cooler than when you open up a box and there's your work inside. Very awesome. If you're a sports fan or a fan of the Super Bowl, there was a game played 8 years ago where the New England Patriots were behind 28-3 in the third quarter to the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody basically turned the game off because it was over, right? There's no way you come back. Nobody'd ever come back from a number like that. But the Patriots did. Little things started going right for them. They started hanging their hat on those little things. They started getting enthusiastic about small victories. And pretty soon, the momentum of the game shifted, and the Patriots ended up coming back to win. The next morning, I came into my office here in Florida where I live, opened the whiteboard in the conference room, pulled a bunch of the creative people in, and I said, how does a moment turn into momentum? How do you take something that happens in your life, good or bad? How do you take it and actually learn how to amplify it? Can momentum be manipulated? Was my question. And the answer is yes. And that's what I spent 8 years interviewing some of the best leaders in the world in the space of sports, my natural space, politics. Yeah, how do you use momentum in campaigns or in issue related campaigns? The world of business, some of the great business leaders in the world sit down to talk to me about momentum and how they use it internally, how they build it internally. And then finally, the military, how battle planning is about creating momentum. And interviewing all these great leaders, the concept was just very simple. Could we create a model for other people to understand how to do something with this phenomenon called momentum? And the answer is yes. There's a model included in the book, and it's really cool. And it helps people understand a spark is required, a moment is required. But too many people aren't prepared for the moment, which means it happens, and you're going, wow, that was cool. And by the time you're done talking about it, it's gone. The best teams are ready, the spark happens, and they know how to throw fuel on the fire to help it roar. And it's quite impressive.
I can't wait to read it. I'm all about forward momentum. I will get it when it comes out. You've written 40 books. How do people find you? Where's the best way to go find the library of books that you have written?
Website, donyaeger.com. And by the way, it's spelled Yaeger, but most people misspell it. So I own the URLs of every way you could misspell my last name. I own it. I'm trying to capture people if they're interested. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So, my final question for you before we end, the name of this podcast is Reflect Forward. What does Reflect Forward mean to you?
I thought about that actually. Went back, listened to a couple and listened to other people's answers. I think for me, it's a little bit of a challenge for me because I try so desperately to be present. And unfortunately, you can lose presence if you're too far forward. But I love that idea and I need to be better at it. I recognize that. But my challenge is that like if you ask me what I'm doing tomorrow, I don't know. I don't even look at my calendar until the night before because it can sometimes overwhelm you. I'd love to be better at reflecting forward, be more thoughtful about forward. I've just been always coached into being present so heavily that I'm not that good at it. And I would love to be.
The present moment is all that there is.
Correct.
But manifesting your dream life, it requires going, okay, what action am I going to take today that's going to help me get to where I want to be in the
Yeah.
future? I think that the two go really well together when you master it. But you're right. If you're just always living in the future or you're always living in the past, you're not going to reflect forward. It really has to be like, what got me to where I am today? Where am I right now? What do I want to be? And how do I take action today in this present moment with the connections I want to build and the people I want to impact and the goals that I have and the feeling that I want to feel, the being that I want to be, and create the life that I want. So it really does go hand in hand when you master it.
I am honored that a relationship was something that I got to experience getting a chance to meet you in San Diego. And I hope we'll do it again one day. What a cool experience. And I love that. Thank you very much for encouraging my reflection.
Yes, absolutely. Don, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know you were so busy gallivanting across the country, promoting your book and inspiring all kinds of audiences across stages. So thank you for making the time for me today. I really appreciate it.
I am honored to be your teammate.
Wonderful. All right, hang tight and I'll be right back. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that interview. Please be sure to check out his new book or any of the other 39 books that he has. They're all fantastic. I am sure of that. And with that, I will leave you to your day. I hope you have a fantastic one. And if you think someone could benefit from this episode, please be sure to share it with them. And of course, as always, please subscribe to this podcast on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. Share it with a friend, write a review, send me a comment. I always love to hear from you. All that just helps continue to promote this podcast and move it up in the rankings. And I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.